All right, I think we're starting, yeah? Welcome everyone. Hello, hello. Welcome to British Council's webinar, and also those who are watching from Facebook, also welcome, and please enjoy the webinar. We'll start it shortly, yeah? Don't forget to take your drinks, please. All right, I think a lot of people already here, yeah? I think we can start. So welcome again, everyone, and also those who are watching on Facebook, very welcome to you as well. So this is the 21st Century English Teacher Express, yeah? It is a whistle-stop tour around the key stations of knowledge every English language teacher should have to be effective in their classroom. This series is aimed at teachers of primary, secondary, and upper secondary levels of English, and we will present examples, taking into account both face-to-face and online teaching environments where relevant. Our panels of expert main trainers will be joined by co-trainers who will answer your questions throughout, enabling you to engage in the conversation as an active participant. At the end of every session, there will be an open question and answer section, and we welcome your contributions. Our aim is to deliver relevant, thought-provoking, and practical professional development in both English language teaching methodology and 21st century skill in a time-effective way, enabling busy but inquisitive teachers to increase their teacher toolkit through their participation. All right. So I would like to introduce you to our first speaker. So our first speaker is Joe Dale, independent language consultant. Joe Dale is an independent language consultant from the UK who works with a range of organizations such as Network for Languages, ALL, the British Council, the BBC, Skype, Microsoft, and The Guardian. He was host of the TSMFL forum for 6 years, former SSAT languages lead practitioner, a regular conference speaker, and recognized expert on technology and language learning. He has spoken at conferences and run training courses in Europe, North America, South America, the Middle East, the Far East, and Australasia. He was a member of the Ministerial Steering Group on Languages for the UK coalition government and advised on the LinguaNet worldwide project for the language company. He created ICT activities for the new Institut Français and Network for Language Primary French project Niveau Bleu, Blanc, and wrote courses and was shortlisted for a NAACE Impact Award in 2013 too. Joe supported the Erasmus Plus project Conflict to cooperation with 5 European countries and the Erasmus Plus project Learning to Think and Live Outside the Box. He recently organized and co-hosts a 10-part series of webinars, Saturday Tech Talk, in collaboration with the British Council in Indonesia and ITELL, and worked on the Nusantara Go project for the British Council in Indonesia and Peartree languages in 2022. Now, I will read to everyone the housekeeping for the webinar. May I have the housekeeping, please? So, the housekeeping for this webinar, the session is being recorded and live streamed on British Council's Teaching English Asia Facebook. So hi, Facebook. Again, by attending, you are acknowledged that your comment may be recorded and rebroadcasted. If you would like to ask questions, please type them in the Q&A box on Zoom or chat box on Facebook. And at the end of the sessions, you will be given a link to complete a post-event survey Link to download e-certificate will be provided after you submit your feedback. All right, so without further ado, I would like to call the speaker, Mr. Joe Dale. The time is yours.
Fantastic. Thank you ever so much for that lovely introduction. I'm just going to share my screen right now. Welcome to everybody who's joining us live, particularly those people on Facebook, as well as in the session live with us right now. You're more than welcome. It's a real delight to be here. And thank you on behalf of the British Council for this opportunity. So I'm going to speak for the next 40 to 45 minutes in this session, looking at digital skills, and in particular how we can use certain digital skills for promoting collaboration, which is one of the important 21st century skills. So thank you ever so much to everybody, and let's get started. So I wanted to point out to begin with that there is a course Padlet. If you have a mobile device, you want to scan the QR code right now, that will take you to the course Padlet, and it will give you an opportunity to reflect and to contribute to that Padlet, which I'll also be referring to a bit later on as well in the session. We have the live chat running in Zoom right now, and also my understanding is that we're going to have any comments left on Facebook posted here as well, so I'll be able to watch them. So if there are questions that come up in the chat in addition to the Q&A box, then I can answer them there and then if they're quick and easy to answer. If not, we'll leave the longer questions in the Q&A at the end. Okay, so to start off with, I wanted to point out that when we're talking about collaboration, these are two aspects of the British Council's CPD framework, which are touched upon in this presentation. So first of all, as I mentioned, collaboration is one of the key 21st century skills, along with creativity, critical thinking, and communication, also known as the 4 Cs. So as part of the British Council CPD framework, as you can see, one of the pillars is promoting 21st century skills, and then another one is integrating ICT. And I will be referring back to those in more detail a bit later on in the presentation. But that is showing, if you like, how this presentation is very much in line and mapped to the British Council CPD framework. Okay. So we're going to start off by looking at a couple of reflective questions. I'm going to be asking you to comment in the chat, if that's okay. So the first question, I would love you to send me some answers about, please, is what does collaboration mean to you? So in the chat, please, could you write down a sentence or two in relation to what does collaboration mean to you? And while you're doing that, I'd just like to point out the image on the right-hand side. I've taken that from a website called photosforclass.com, which is a really fantastic website for finding royalty-free images. So if you're looking for images that legally you're allowed to use in class, I would really recommend photosforclass.com. So for example, we've had Doreen here in the chat, who has written, working together with fellow educators to come up with ideas to improve teaching. That's a great response, Doreen. Thank you. Let's see if we've got some other ideas coming through the chat. Fantastic. We have another one. We have collaboration, working together to achieve a common goal. I couldn't agree more. And if we all work together, we're going to be much stronger than the individual members, as it were, if we work as a group. Love to see you here, Colm. Working together to find a solution which everyone agrees with. Definitely, absolutely. And everyone contributes towards, not just one person's idea or vision. I couldn't agree more. That's wonderful. Any other thoughts about what collaboration means? It'd be lovely to get a few more comments before we move on to the next question. Maybe one more would be absolutely lovely. Let's just see. Reflection through teamwork. That's a nice one as well. Great. Okay, so I think we're going to move on to the next question, if that's okay. If you want to carry on writing about what collaboration means to you, that would be lovely. But the next one is the following. Why is collaboration important in education, and how can it benefit students and teachers? So we're particularly thinking now about why collaboration, why it's a good idea to promote collaboration either in a face-to-face classroom or online in an asynchronous or remote teaching or digital context, whereby we could, for example, be collaborating together on a Padlet, like the course Padlet, which we've asked you to add to. Why is collaboration important in education? How can it benefit students and teachers? So I can see that we have from Fontu Nasari, working together to complete a task, respect each other's strengths and weaknesses. Absolutely. So that's more like a definition, isn't it, of what collaboration is. So why is it important, would you say, to do this in education? So again, Colm said to develop your collaboration skills. Absolutely. Trang is saying because it reduces teachers' burnout to carry out many tasks. Yes, if we all work together, that will reduce the load on teachers. Absolutely. And get the students to be more active. I couldn't agree more. I think that's a really valid thing to say. That's great. Again, for the second question, Colm has written to develop your English speaking skills. Yes, if we collaborate together, we practice, we have turn-taking experiences, we negotiate with each other in conversation. That's all to do with collaboration. That's all great for practicing our English speaking skills. I couldn't agree more as well with Intan. It builds rapport and trust amongst each other. Absolutely. It promotes teamwork. Yes. It solves information gaps. Yes, absolutely. Great speaking type activity. Doreen, again, to make sure that colleagues' concerns and perspectives are taken into account. Yes, if we all work together, everyone has the same level of voice. Absolutely. That's also great. These are great answers, everyone. Great. Strengthens and improves educational environments and relationships. Yes, definitely, to make the learning and teaching interactive. Also allowing the teacher to learn and the learner to teach the teacher in the process of collaboration. I couldn't agree more. I think we're going to move on to the next question, if that's okay. But those are all fantastic answers. And now we're going to look at more sort of digital ideas in particular. What digital tools are you currently using to promote collaboration? So we've talked about Padlet, for example. What other tools are you using currently to promote collaboration, either in or outside of your classroom? Please share either in the Zoom session right now, or if we have people wanting to comment on Facebook, that would be absolutely fantastic as well. So again, we have from Intan, Jamboard and Google Docs. I couldn't agree more. Google Docs or G Suite in general is absolutely perfect for collaboration. You can do very similar things as well using Office 365, the way in which you can create a document, share it with the students, and they can all work together on the same activity. Trello as well. Yes, that's really good for sort of project management and things like that. Absolutely. We've also got Google Classroom. I couldn't agree more. Meeting Words, that's a new one to me. I've not heard of Meeting Words before. I'll have to check that one out. But that's lovely. And so Doreen is using Google tools in her school. Colm talking about using WhatsApp for teamwork. Okay, that's lovely. Okay. So those are some really good ideas, really good suggestions. So if you're new to the use of digital skills and digital tools, then maybe that's given you a few thoughts about the sorts of things that you could do in the classroom using these types of tools. Wonderful. Thank you so much, everyone, for your answers to my reflective questions. Okay, let's move on to the next slide now. So as I'm sure you've all heard of ChatGPT, which is a very sort of hot topic at the moment. ChatGPT, if you don't know, is a tool which has been developed by a company in the States called OpenAI. And essentially it's a chat bot which has been fed terabytes of information from the web, which has allowed it to produce a more natural sounding response to questions that you may put in. So for example, I put in the question, can you give me a short definition of collaboration? And as you can see on the screen, this is what ChatGPT came up with. Collaboration is a process in which individuals or groups work together towards a common goal, which was mentioned in the chat already, combining their skills, knowledge, and resources to achieve a shared objective. It involves open communication, cooperation, and mutual respect among team members. Again, that's been mentioned in the chat. So everyone's doing really well. They're agreeing with ChatGPT. Lovely. Collaboration can take place in various settings, such as in the workplace, in academic environments, in social contexts, and in online communities. Superb. Thank you so much, everyone, so far. And that's what ChatGPT has given as a definition, which I think is a very valid definition. Okay. Now, just to put the word collaboration and collaborative and collaborate into context, I thought I would share a couple of sentences with you. For example, in the English language classroom, collaboration amongst students can create a more supportive and engaging learning environment. Working together with colleagues on a project can enhance your teamwork and collaboration skills. And online collaborative tools like Google Docs and Padlet make it easy for students to collaborate on group projects outside of class. So I think that we've covered now, hopefully, the definition of what collaboration is and how it can be applied in context. Okay, so in the next slide, we're going to I'm going to give you a reminder that we have touched upon collaboration and 21st century skills previously in Nikki Partridge's presentation. If you were not able to attend that live, then you can catch up on the recordings on the British Council Indonesia YouTube channel, as well as on a British Council website as well. I'm sure that you will have received the links to those. The YouTube clips are going to be available on the British Council Indonesia YouTube channel very soon, and you'll be able to watch back and see the whole series, which has been 8 different sessions, 6 so far, and then we're doing 2 today. So I would really encourage you to have a look at those previous sessions, and in this one in particular, you'll get some further advice on collaboration in the context of 21st century learning. Okay, so now what we're going to do is I'm going to do a practical demonstration of 3 digital tools in particular, which are going to show different aspects of using 21st century skills in the classroom, promoting collaboration. Again, I've taken the image on the right-hand side there from photosforclass.com, which is why I put the attribution at the bottom there. That is all automatically added to any image that you download from that particular website, which is really handy. Okay, so to begin with, we're going to have a look at wordwall.net. Could you let me know in the chat if you've already used WordWall before? I know on the previous Indonesian project that I worked on, WordWall was very popular, and it gave people lots of ideas on how they could use simple and easy activities in the classroom. I can see in the chat that some people have used this already, which is really lovely to see. If it is new to you, I see that for some of you it's quite new to you. You should get a flavor of how it works. So essentially, WordWall, you get access to many different activities. I think it's about 20. No, it's sorry, 18. It's 18 in the free version, and then if you then subscribe to the paid version, you get up to 34 different activities. And in each activity, it's very simple to set up. You just have to essentially fill in different boxes to generate the activity. So I'm just going to show you a couple of activities that you can do with WordWall, which do promote collaboration. So to begin with, we have this one, which is the type of spinning wheel activity. I'm just going to show you live how it looks. So I'm going to click here and show you here. So the suggestion now is that this is called the random wheel one. If I click start like this and I go full screen like this, I've put in a number of different questions which refer to collaboration. So the idea would be I could spin the wheel like this. Okay, and as you can see, the question that's come up is, what role does communication play in successful collaboration? I could then either ask the whole class to discuss this and to collaborate together to come up with an answer, or maybe I could ask students to work in pairs to discuss with each other the answers to the different questions that come up. I could then have one person maybe leading back to the group to see what they have decided on based on their collaborative discussion. I could then spin again if I wanted to by clicking resume and spin it. And we can come up with another question like this. Okay, how can collaboration be used to achieve a common goal or complete a task more efficiently? So that's how that one works. Just to give you a flavor of how easy it is to generate this type of activity, if I go back to my slide here and I click here, what I've done is I have generated these 10 different questions, which I actually created using ChatGPT. Let me see if I can very quickly show you how this works. So if I were to put in ChatGPT, generate 10 questions about the subject of collaboration in education. Okay, let's see what happens. So we're going to get, hopefully now, 10 questions. There we are. Can you see? So ChatGPT is using its memory, if you like, to generate these different questions that have come up. I can now literally select that, copy it like that. It so happens here I've put this into a spreadsheet, but I could just go to WordWall like this, and I could click on create activity, and I could go to random wheel like this, and I could just literally paste this all in like that. And can you see what it's done? It's generated the activity. I can just write, say, test, for example, click done here, and click start. Okay, and I've got that activity. So you can see how simple and quick it is to use something like ChatGPT to generate the activities. And clearly you would go through and check the typos and things like that. But that just shows you how easy it is to create something quickly and easily that you can use in WordWall using ChatGPT to generate the content. So that's the first example in WordWall, random wheel conversation collaboration. The next one is another type of activity. I'm going to show you this one live. This one I actually took from the library, the community, should I say, and I just was able to copy this to my account really easily. So here, it's a different type of activity. It's a matchup activity. So I click on start here. You can see we've got the terms here and then the definitions here. So for example, a person who belongs to a group or organization. So one of these is the answer. So I think that's probably going to be member, isn't it? So I can just literally drag and drop. It is the ability to do things that need a lot of physical or mental effort. So again, you could be asking the students to work on this in pairs so they can collaborate together. It is the ability to do things that need a lot of physical or mental effort. So that's going to be teamwork, I think, isn't it? Let's try that one. The ability of a group of, no, let's try that actually. I think it's actually strength, isn't it? There we are. To believe that someone is good and honest and will not harm you by doing the right thing. So that's going to be trust. Situation of two or more people working together to create or achieve the same thing. So that will be collaboration. Imparting or exchange of information by speaking, writing, or using some other medium, communication. And then to carry out an action or pattern of behavior, that's going to be perform. Like that. And then I just click submit answers. And phew, I've got them all right. Okay. So that just again shows you how you could activity to generate the possibility of collaborating using digital skills. And you can see as well here that you can switch the template. So this was the matchup one, but I could always change that to something else like find the match or balloon pop or crossword, etc. And there's even printable versions as well. If you're working in an environment when you don't have a good internet connection, you could always make printable versions of the activities. Okay, so let's go back. I think we had a beefy question, but I think we'll do that a bit later on if that's okay in the Q&A. Right, so let's carry on. So that was the matchup activity, which I called effective collaboration. Okay, so we're now going to move on to Socrative. I could have gone into a lot more detail about WordWall, but hopefully that's given you a good idea of how WordWall works. We're now going to have a look at Socrative. Now, Socrative is a tool which has been around for quite a long time now. Let me know in the chat if you have seen Socrative before. It's a more formal looking tool compared to a tool like WordWall, I think. It allows you to do quick fire activities which don't require any preparation at all, which is nice. But you can also pre-make quizzes as well. And you can ask students to make quizzes as well if you wanted to, and then they can share those with each other so they can collaborate in that way. But in this example, what I'm going to do is I'm going to show you how this works. I'm just going to go on to the next page and just show you these quick questions. So I'm going to just come out of the presentation, if that's okay. And I'm going to go to Socrative like this. And that's now, there we are. That's now going to take me here. And now I'm going to click on the option here, and that will now split my screen into two. So I can now show how the teacher view works and the student view works. So in the teacher view, I'm going to click login, and I'm going to click teacher login like this. Okay, so that will now log me in, hopefully. There we are. And you can see that I've got my room number. So every time you create an account, it does automatically assign you a room number, which you can change if you want to. All you have to do is go to where it says rooms here and click on the little pen tool like that. And then you can then edit your room name to maybe your actual name. If your actual name has been taken, then you could just maybe add the name of your school or your context like that. Okay. But the main screen here is the launch screen. And I'm going to click on login on my second window. And I'm going to click this time student login. Okay, so this is what you would ask the students to do. Now, it says room name. So I write in 29701 because that's what my room name is. Okay, and it has been for about 12 years at least, however long I've been using this tool. You can also, as well, you can see here, you can change the language that the interface appears in as well, which is great. If I click join right now, then you'll see that it's saying waiting for the next activity to begin. Okay, so because I'm quite limited on time, I'm just going to show you how these quick questions work. So these do not require any preparation at all, and they're all about promoting whole class collaboration. So with that in mind, if I click here where it says multiple choice, okay, I then have A to E appearing on my screen as the teacher. And then as a student, I get to see A, B, C, D, E as well. So you can imagine that every student in my class who are taking part in this activity would have the same letters appearing on their screen. So you could then assign whatever you wanted to those individual letters. So let's imagine at the end of a lesson, you wanted to test the understanding of the students on what they had covered, what you had covered with them in the class. You could, for example, assign different values to different letters. So you could, for example, say, I want you to click on the A option if you feel that you've understood 100% of the content we've done in the lesson. Then you could go to, say, B, and say B could refer to maybe 90%. So there's a few issues there that you as the teacher would have to then iron out, and so on and so forth, down to E, I really don't understand anything that you just said type of thing. And obviously you could use statements, you could say percentages, whatever you want to do. So you assign different values to the different letters. So this means you could do this at the start of the lesson, at the end of this lesson, halfway through the lesson, just to gauge the learning, to test the temperature in the room, as it were, to see how people are getting on. So let's imagine, as a student here, I'm just sort of collaborating with myself, as it were. But let's imagine here that I wanted to say, A, I've understood everything that we've done in the lesson. So I've clicked on A. I then click submit answer here. And then what will now happen, as you can see, the answer has now appeared here. So it's dynamic. It will change automatically when I submit the answer. And if you've got, let's say, a class of 30 students, then you get a good impression pretty quickly on the feeling in the room in relation to, let's say, students learning, or if you ask a question and you give 5 different options. You don't have to give 5 options. You could say just use the first 3 or the first 4. You don't have to use all 5 if you don't want to, but just to quickly get an impression of how the students are feeling or understand the content you've been doing. So it's a great way of promoting collaboration in that way. The next question is pretty straightforward, which is the true or false one. So I can click on true or false. This will then come up, start a new question. This will end the responses to the current question. So I click yes like that. Then here, as you can see on the teacher side, I have the question, I have the true or false statements. And on the right-hand side, I then have the option of saying whether I think a statement is true or false. So the idea here would then be, as the teacher, you would then say a question out loud. So you would say, for example, is collaboration, or sorry, if you make a statement, sorry, not a question, collaboration in the classroom is a good idea. And then you could then ask the students to then give their opinion about that. So here I'm going to say true, and I'm going to click the submit answer button. And as a result of that, I can now see that one of the students in my class does think that collaboration is a good idea in the classroom, which is why it's come up there. Hopefully that's nice and clear for everyone so far. My favorite activity in these quick fire questions is the short answer one. So here, if I click on short answer and I click yes, like that, this will come up. Now here you could write in a question if you wanted to, or if you prefer, you could just say the question out loud. You've also got these options here: allow unlimited responses. I would suggest that if you have, let's say, a class of 30 and they all reply 2 or 3 times, that you can have too many answers to deal with. So personally, I would not turn that one on. The require student names one, if you want to keep it anonymous, then that's fine. You would just leave it as it is. If you want it not to be anonymous, then you would turn that one on. And again, here, this is similar to the allow unlimited responses. If you only want the students to submit once, then you would then consider that option there as well. So I'm just going to click start. So leaving it as the default, in other words. And now here, as you can see, we've got the option for the teacher to ask the question. So I could say, for example, how do you feel about using collaboration or promoting collaboration in class? So I could then say, for example, here, I think it is essential that we collaborate in class because it helps us to learn better and to build teamwork. Okay, so that would be my answer, for example. And then here I click as before, submit answer. And that will now appear here. You can see it's there. Now, if I had a whole class doing this, then obviously people could then submit lots of answers. The whole class would submit lots of answers, and I'd have lots of answers coming up here. What I particularly like about this tool is the option to start a vote. Now, if I click start vote right now, you'll see I get a message. You must have at least 2 student responses to start a vote. So let's imagine I did have more than one that I've got right now. It would mean that I could ask the students to vote on their favorite answer. So what would happen is all the answers that have been submitted here would appear here, and then you get to choose one of the answers. You click on that to vote for it, and then the most popular answer will appear here on the in the teacher interface. And that's really useful because it can show what is the most popular answer, but that doesn't necessarily show if that is the correct answer. It just shows what the majority of the people in the room think is the correct answer. If that's if you're asking a grammar question, it could identify maybe a gap in knowledge, or if you're asking students to just give their opinion, it can show what is the most popular opinion. So from the point of view of collaboration, I think it's fabulous. Okay, so hopefully that's nice and clear now with everyone. That's Socrative. I'm now going to go full screen again, like that. There are other things I could show you as well, but I don't have time, which is the space race, which is based on a pre-made quiz and the quiz itself. Just to give you a flavor of how this works, you click on library. These are ones I've done previously. You click add, like this, new quiz, and then you simply start creating your quiz, and you can choose either multiple choice, true, false, or short answer. If you go onto YouTube and have a search for a Socrative tutorial, or also in the Wakelet collection, which I've collected for you, you will be able to see how that works as well. So that's absolutely fine. And then you'll get an idea on how to make your own quiz, but we don't have time to do that right now. Okay, so let's move on. And the third digital tool for promoting collaboration we're going to have a look at is called Wakelet. Now, I'm a big fan of Wakelet. What it allows you to do is it allows you to make different collections and collect together different links and images and PDFs and tweets and what have you, and group them all under different themes. You can also create a collaborative Wakelet, which I'm going to demonstrate in a moment. You can give students a link or a code so that they can then collaborate together on the same Wakelet. And you can give them feedback by writing, for example, written notes on the work that they submit. So, for example, if you're working on a project or you're doing a project-based learning activity, then you could create a course Wakelet where everyone adds their content to it. So it's a little bit like Padlet, but it gives you some other opportunities as well. So that's fantastic. So let me just go to the next page. This is an example of my Wakelet collections. As you can see, I put together 2 Wakelets for you for these 2 sessions that I'm doing today. The first one is this one, Digital Skills, Working Collaboratively. And then the second one is another collection around digital tools which promote accessibility. So let me go back to the previous slide and click here. And that will take me live to my my live Wakelet page. You can see here, these are the 2 collections which I've collected for you. So this one here, you see you've got a title here, and then you've got some different links that I put in. You've got a few YouTube clips here. You've also got the classrooms on Wakelet, a little bit like Google Classrooms, which I'm going to give you a flavor of today. You've got a little clip here on how you can use Socrative as well for those quick fire questions and exit tickets. You've got here Helen Legg, who's an ELT teacher, using Socrative as well. It's absolutely fantastic. So let me give you a flavor of how this works to make your own collection. So if I click on here, collections, like this, and I click create collection, like this. So the first thing I'm going to do is give a title. So let's give a title right now. Let's put in, for example, promoting collaboration using digital tools. Okay. And all you have to do is paste in a web link here. So let's imagine I wanted to go to, say, here, this activity here that I've just created for you. And I copy that and I go to Wakelet and I paste it in like that. And what will happen is you'll get a little thumbnail appearing here and the link underneath. In addition to that, we could use what's called the Wakelet Chrome extension. To show you how that works, all you do is you go to the Chrome Web Store like this, and you put in Wakelet like that, and there it is. I just click on that, and I've already added it to Chrome, so I'm not going to remove it and then add it again. But you can see it's all there. That's what the Chrome extension looks like. And you can also use Chrome extensions within Microsoft Edge as well. So if you go to Edge in the Chrome Web Store, it will give you the option to enable extensions to work in Microsoft Edge. So having done that, all you'd have to do, let's imagine if I want to say here, and I went to this activity, and I wanted to click here on the W here, standing for Wakelet, I could do that. And then here, I could then choose the Wakelet. So these are the other collections which I've got here. As you can see, the one I want to add it to is this one, and I click Save. That's now been added to my collection. So I click here, and you can see it's now there. So it's really, really simple and easy to add content to your Wakelet collection. There's also a Wakelet app as well. So if you're on a mobile device, like an iPad or a phone, then when you bring up the share menu, you can choose Wakelet and then add it to your collection and choose which collection you want to add it to. Now, how can you make this collaborative? So what you do is you click the share option here, And you can see here, it says I have to publish it to my profile to make it collaborative. So I've just done that now. And I can click on a QR code option. I can, I can click on, that was wrong what I just said. I can click on the join code option, or I can simply copy the link here. So it says invite with link. So I click copy link. And as you can see, it says anyone with this link will be able to add to this collection. You can manage their permissions below. So if I now click here again, and I go to this page, and I paste in the link like that, then you can see, there we are. What's happened is I'm not logged in. I'm simply on the page, and I could be Anonymous Zebra if I wanted to. In fact, let me be Anonymous Zebra, but I could put my actual name in here as well if I preferred. So it's up to you on how much privacy you want to have with the students. It's going to be a private collection, but if you want the students to name themselves, you could ask them to do that, or they can just be anonymous. So I'm going to be Anonymous Zebra for today. There we are. And as a result of that, I can now add to this this collection as well. So let's imagine I wanted to get another, let's have a look. So if I wanted to, just for the point of view of making it nice and simple, I'm just going to copy this link here. And as the person that is not logged in, so you can see I'm not logged in, I've just added that link, and it's now appeared here. So by doing that, it's a really quick and easy way of being able to collect together different resources all in the same space. Now you can see here that if a student had added a resource, I could click on the, can you see it says add text? So I can click on add text, and I could write something like great addition, Joe. I think this link helps the group. Okay, and you can see it's been saved automatically. You can see also that you can format the different options as well. So that's fantastic. And it gives you the opportunity to make the text appear exactly how you want it to appear. So I can now X that off, and you can see there that my text has been added. So this is a way in which you can give feedback to students who are then collaborating in the same Wakelet. There's other things you can do. I can click on the image option here, upload an image if I wanted to. Let's just see if I had, for example, here, that collaborative picture that I've got, and I can click open. That would then add that image, which could be a screenshot or whatever it is I want to add. You can see how easy it is to build up a collection. You can add a PDF as well. If I click on a PDF option here, there will be a PDF there, which I could then upload. You've also got this option here, which I personally find really, really useful. So if you click on here, it says app integration. You've got a number of different items here. What I particularly like to do is I like to use a Chrome extension, which I haven't, because you don't have the Chrome extensions all installed here because of the fact I'm using incognito window. What I like to do is I like to click here on a Chrome extension called Quick Share Screenshot. And what it lets me do is it lets me take a partial screenshot or a full screen screenshot. If I click here, take partial screen, and you can see that my cursor has become a cross. And if I just highlight, say, this as an image like that, it now will upload to Google Drive automatically, and it will put it into a folder called Quick Share Screenshot. And as a result of that, if I now go to Google Drive like this, it will now ask me to, okay, I'm not actually going to log in right now, but I would log in, and it would take me to Google Drive. And then under the recent option, I could then add that image straight into my Wakelet. So it's a really quick and easy way of being able to add images that you have screenshot from the web and put it straight into Wakelet. To show you how to find that, if I just go to here and I go to the Chrome Web Store and put in Quick Share Screenshot like that. Okay, and there it is. It's Alice Keeler Quick Share Screenshot. Alice Keeler is an educator from the States. You click on that and you simply install it. The only thing I would say is once you've uploaded, once you've installed the Chrome extension, it will automatically create a folder in your Google Drive called Quick Share Screenshot, where all the images upload. All you have to do is go to that folder, right click it, and it will say get link. You click on that, and then it will say restricted, and you have to change restricted to anyone with the link, because otherwise when people click on that link, when you share the screenshot, they won't be able to access it unless you give them permission to do so. So hopefully that's nice and clear on how that works. If we carry on now, as I said, these are some of the collections which I have shared with you. Just in relation to moderation, because this is incredibly important, I thought I would put together some guidelines around how we can use these as safely and securely as possible. So you can see, for example, it says providing clear guidelines and expectations for student behavior and participation. Absolutely. We can also monitor the tools and review the content to ensure it aligns with the learning objectives and is appropriate for the students. We can encourage positive and respectful communication and address any inappropriate behavior. Absolutely. We can also use these tools for facilitating group discussions and collaboration to ensure that all students are included and engaged. And we can also use these tools for providing feedback and guidance to students to support their learning and growth. Now, particularly in relation to different mechanisms within these tools we can use, for example, Wakelet, I can remove any student from that collaborative version of Wakelet if I want to. I can monitor any content which has been added to Wakelet. In relation to WordWall, unless I ask the students to create their own activities, if I just give them the links to the different activities, then that's going to be absolutely fine. And they'll just be able to do the activities. They won't be able to, well, if they do write anything inappropriate, I would then obviously go around and I would review any activities that they have created. If we're going to publish any of them, then I would have to review them first of all. And likewise, Socrative, I know some teachers like the students to create their own Socrative activities to test each other, which I think is a very valuable thing in the context of promoting collaboration. But clearly, as the teacher, you'd have to monitor all the content before you make it go live, as it were. So that's how that would work in relation to moderation. And just to sort of finish off with, I wanted to remind you again of the CPD framework for teachers. So you can see here, for example, that talking about promoting 21st century skills, which I talked about earlier with the wheel image that we had, one of the important 21st century skills is collaboration communication, one of the 4 C's, which I've referred to already. And do check out Nikki Partridge's presentation and the recording, which will be available soon on the YouTube channel for you to watch that back and to remind you of the power of collaboration as well, along with the other skills as well that we're talking about here. And then in relation to integrating ICT, again, I've highlighted the aspect in this document, in the framework, around promoting collaborative and participatory learning by exploiting online communities, tools, and platforms. And again, Wakelet actually is a really good tool that we can use in conjunction with teachers sharing ideas. You could, for example, use Wakelet as a way of collecting your own links and resources and tweets that you come across that you find useful, put it into a Wakelet, and then add other people within your school or other like-minded colleagues from around the world to work together, collaborating on collecting good individual links and resources around a certain topic. So that's a really nice way as well of keeping everything in the same place. And this idea of curation, or being a type of digital archaeologist, looking for gems around the world on the web, which you can then add together and disseminate that information via only one link. So with Wakelet, you only need one link. You click on that link, and it gives you access to all these different resources that you have collected, either as a teacher with your students or for professional development with other colleagues. Okay. And there we are. So if you would like that Wakelet bibliography, if you'd like to scan that QR code, you'll have the link as well by scanning the QR code and being able to access that. So that will give you essentially extra reading to do around this topic, around tutorials and what have you on using Socrative and WordWall and Wakelet, which should give you some more ideas on how we can use this in the classroom. And I think I'm perfectly on time now, more or less. That's the link there. There we are. So feel free to access the link. And I'd also like to create a post-webinar task for everybody watching right now, which is the following: create a Wakelet and share the join link with another collaborator to co-create a collection. So that could be, for example, a colleague. If you're both interested in a certain theme to do with education and English language teaching, then why not create a Wakelet and work together with a colleague, which you can then post onto the course Padlet, which you've already been given the link to already. So that is your post-webinar task for this particular presentation. And just as a reminder, this is the course Padlet again. You've got the link here, and if you'd like to scan the QR code, that will take you to the Padlet as well. And I think I'm right in saying that we're now moving on to the Q&A. So I'm going to hand over now to the host to introduce the Q&A, if that's okay. But thanks ever so much, everyone, for listening. And thank you so much for your contributions in the chat. I really appreciate it. And for those people on Facebook as well, you're very welcome for joining us live as well. Okay, let's go into the Q&A.
Thank you very much,
Thank you so much, Joe.
You're welcome. My pleasure.
But yeah, tons of interesting ideas, demos there. It's a lot to process. There was loads of good stuff there. Thank you very much, Joe. And we've had some really interesting questions through as well, both via Facebook, the Q&A box, and the chat here. So three kind of media there for those. So start off with, there was a kind of practical question from Column Downs about ChatGPT. Is ChatGPT able to modify a text's language level? For example, take it from C1 down to B2?
Yeah, absolutely. That's one of the things that it does really, really well, actually. So what you can do is you can literally use the CEFR levels. You can say, can you summarize this text, or can you bring down the level of this text? So, for example, what some people have recommended is that you, for example, take an authentic text from maybe a newspaper or online somewhere that you want to use with the students, but maybe the level is too high. So what you can do is you can put it into ChatGPT and you could say, okay, can you take this text but make it simpler? Can you summarize it? And then from there, you could say, can you write me 5 comprehension questions to do with this text for a B1 student, for example, and it will just do it for you live. And then if I had more time, I would show you, but we've got lots of questions. And then you can also say, can you add an answer key as well? And then once the students have answered that question, or if they've maybe written a text, if you've given that text as a model and they've written a text, you could ask ChatGPT to look at the text and to identify any mistakes or any grammar issues and give feedback. So ChatGPT can give the feedback on what these students need to do, maybe with some sentences in context to describe how they could have written something better, or that sort of thing. So I'd really recommend people just have a play with it. There is a disclaimer that you have to be 18 or above to create an account with ChatGPT or make a contract with OpenAI. If you're younger than that, if you're 13 or above, then according to the OpenAI website and what various educators have asked OpenAI as well, you can use it with under 18s from 13 and above, as long as you have parental permission. But if we're talking about using it with teachers for creating resources, for getting feedback for the work, then that's absolutely fine. And you do have to put in a mobile phone number to create an account, which is another issue which one needs to flag up. But I'm really just sort of touching the surface of what it can do at the moment, but I'm very excited about it. And I think it's going to be a game changer in lots of ways, particularly in, say, ELT, in the way in which it is so good at just producing text, be it lesson plans or text you can use in class, and how you can create quizzes and worksheets really, really simply and easily, which is going to reduce the heavy lifting, as it were, of those sorts of things that teachers do on a daily basis, and maybe free up a bit more headspace, and so teachers can be a bit more creative, which is not to say they're not creative now, but maybe because they're very tired making resources, maybe it will free up a bit of time. Okay, next question.
Brilliant. Thanks a lot. So ChatGPT, maybe a teacher's best friend.
It could be, yeah, it could be. Some people describe it as a learning assistant. So yeah.
I think that's a great way to see it. So a slightly kind of broader focused question now then. What do you think are a few ideas for creating good digital collaboration between teachers and students? Kind of rules of thumb, perhaps.
Well, always. So when you say that question, do you mean everybody collaborating together, or do you mean teachers collaborating with their students, or do you mean teachers collaborating with teachers, or can you be a bit more specific about the?
So this was a question from Endang on Facebook,
Okay.
and the question specifically was saying collaboration between teachers and students. So I assume that means kind of things which are teacher directed.
Yeah. Okay. So I would say simply to follow the school's documentation around e-safety and following the protocol of, for example, making decisions about whether you want the students to write their actual names if they're collaborating together, in the way that in, say, Wakelet, it was possible to be anonymized. So what you could do, for example, is you could create a Google Sheet or an Excel spreadsheet whereby you had every student's actual names there with their nicknames that you've then given them. So they're anonymized when collaborating in class or at home. Depending on the tool, I would just say, clearly at all times be respectful, to have class rules about the sort of expected behavior when using these tools, in relation to moderation, the fact that in Wakelet you can remove a user if you wanted to. In that share screen that I clicked on, you can go down and you can remove any user if you wanted to. That would be really simple to do. In relation to the other tools I talked about, in relation to, say, word wall, what I was suggesting is that people work on that in class. So you could, for example, either do that as a whole class collaboration, or the students can work on that in pairs, for example. And that would be just a question of classroom management, wouldn't it? It would just be a question of making sure that the students adhere to the expectations of behavior within the class. So in some tool, each tool is different, but some tools have specific moderation features, such as Wakelet in the way that I've talked about with Socrative. If you're doing one of those quick fire questions for the one which is the short answer one, then you can always remove the answer from the list if you want to. So there's that moderation as well. So I would always encourage teachers, whenever they're using a tool, to look at the moderation features before they launch it on a class, to make sure that they're not setting themselves up for issues. But at the same time, I think that if you create a really positive environment within your class, then that's going to really help with using these tools effectively. And if you find that maybe a particular class is not mature enough to deal properly with these sorts of tools, then maybe think again about how appropriate they are to use in class, if students are going to be silly and write inappropriate messages and that sort of thing. But as long as we know what the moderation options are, then I think we're good to go.
That's great. Thanks a lot. Another kind of broader focused question. So this was from Hangdura via Facebook. What would your thoughts be on using these types of digital platforms, digital skills, effectively in maybe countries with less developed technical infrastructures? What kind of modifications could be made, do you think?
Yeah, so that's a really great question. So I sort of touched upon that in relation to WordWall. So with WordWall, you can generate printable versions of the activities. So if, for example, if you had your plan B, which obviously all teachers have their plan B, then you could always have the option of having, say, a PDF version of the different activities, and then you could use some sort of markup tool like Kami, for example, Kami, which allows you to mark up digitally on a PDF, or if you have the budget to produce paper worksheets, then clearly the students could just use paper and pen to write on the paper, to create their to do the activities and to submit their answers. But I would say all the things I've shown you so far, they don't need, because they're not dealing with things like video and things like that, they don't necessarily need a really fast internet connection, but they do need the internet. So you would just have to try it out and see how it went. If you felt that, for example, that the internet connection was not fast enough to use, for example, Wakelet, then you'd have to then rethink. But certainly, having the printable versions of, say, WordWall would work, or you could ask the students to maybe do some of these activities at home if they're able to do that. They can able to access the internet at home, or maybe if they're able to, if you have an ICT suite, you're able to maybe book that and try that out. If you don't have, let's say, access to individual devices in class, there's ways around it, but the bottom line is that you would need to have an internet connection for these to work, which sort of goes hand in hand with the idea of digital skills. But I absolutely hear what you're saying, and when I've worked in countries with problematic internet connections, that's definitely been an absolute issue. So hopefully those bits of advice that I've given will help in this way.
That's fantastic. Thanks a lot, Joe. I think, unfortunately, that's all we've got time for in the Q&A session.
Okay. Thanks, John. Thank you.
All right, thank you so much for the Q&A sessions help with that, John. And Joe, thank you very much again for the wonderful presentation. So I would like to remind everyone to go to the Padlet and also submit your feedback so that you can get your e-certificate. Remember that the e-certificate is blank, so you can print your own name in the e-certificate. Yeah. So the next session will start in soon. It's like 15 minutes, yes? Yes. So please stay if you would like to. And if you think you can come back again, you may leave the session. Until then, thank you very much, everyone, for enjoying the first session. Maybe we'll meet again in the next one. Thank you very much.
Thanks, everyone.
Okay. Hello, everyone, and welcome to today's webinar. I would like to say hi to our friends live streaming on Facebook as well. Hi, welcome. We are thrilled to have you here today. My name is Tiara, and I'm truly honored to be moderating this special event. Please let us know where you're joining us from in the chat box. So I'm joining from Majalengka, the city of winds in West Java, Indonesia. Let's see who's here today. Welcome, everyone. I hope that everyone is feeling great today. So this webinar series is the British Council's 21st Century English Teacher Express webinar series in collaboration with Peartree and English Academy by Ruang Guru. It is aimed at teachers of primary, secondary, and upper secondary levels of English. We will present examples, taking into account both face-to-face and online teaching environments where relevant. At the end of our session, there will be an open question and answer section, and we welcome your contributions. Our topic today is working with digital tools that promote accessibility that will be delivered by our excellent speaker, Joe Dell. Joe Dell is an independent languages consultant from the UK who works with a range of organizations such as Network for Languages, ALL, the British Council, the BBC, Skype, Microsoft, and The Guardian. He recently organized and co-hosted a 10-part series of webinars, Saturday Tech Talk, in collaboration with the British Council in Indonesia. And ITELL and worked on the Nusantara Go project for the British Council in Indonesia and Peartree languages in 2022. Now, ladies and gentlemen, please allow me to read the housekeeping. Can I please have the housekeeping slide? Okay. This session is being recorded and live streamed on British Council's Teaching English Asia Facebook. By attending, you acknowledge that your comments may be recorded and rebroadcasted. If you would like to ask questions, please type them in the Q&A box on Zoom or chat box on Facebook. At the end of this session, you'll be given a link to complete a post-event survey. Link to download e-certificate will be provided after submit your feedback. And for your information, all the recordings can be watched on the British Council Facebook page and also their YouTube channel. So now please welcome our speaker, Joe Dell. Joe, the screen is now yours.
Thank you, Tiara, for that lovely introduction. So welcome, everybody, joining us live in Zoom as well as on Facebook. That's fantastic. I'm just going to share my screen and I'm going to talk for the next 40 to 45 minutes approximately around different ways in which we can use digital skills for promoting accessibility and making our classrooms more inclusive. So you're very, very welcome. Thank you ever so much to the British Council for this opportunity. It's an absolute pleasure as well to be working with Peartree Languages again on this. Okay, so let's make a start. So I thought I would highlight to begin with the fact that in the British Council's CPD framework, one of the pillars of that is around using inclusive practices. So of course, accessibility is part of an inclusive practice. Essentially, accessibility in a technological perspective is using different features within common tools such as PowerPoint, such as Google Slides, and other well-known resources in order to allow all types of learners to access content, be them maybe visually impaired or hard of hearing, or whatever issues that they may be having. The idea is that by using modern day technologies, we can make our classrooms more inclusive, which is obviously incredibly important. And I think that technology has come on leaps and bounds and made these sorts of features, which used to be in lots of ways paid for, now free and baked into the tools which we use on a regular basis, which we may not be aware that these are available. And that is why in this presentation, I'm going to be highlighting some of the ways in which we can use different tech tools by using the particular accessibility features within them to help make our classrooms more inclusive. Okay, so to begin with, I'm going to ask a few questions of the audience to start off with. I'm going to ask you to write in the chat, please, what does accessibility mean to you? So I've just given you a brief definition, if you like, from my own point of view. What does it mean to you, accessibility? So please do write in the chat, and then what I can do is I can then read out some of the answers, and we can reflect on those as well. So if you can take a moment now, those people either watching live in Zoom or on Facebook, you'd be very welcome to write a comment, and then the team can then copy and paste them across into the chat here, and I can then respond to them in turn. So I can see, for example, from Juita, we have being able to get the information you need. Yes, absolutely. But for all learners, that's the thing, isn't it? For all learners, so that we can cater to different learning styles, different issues that people have got, for example, to make sure that they can access the learning. And in the 21st century, I think that's something which is incredibly important that we do. It's always been important, but I think that tech tools facilitate that and simplify that issue, and all the different issues that people may have in relation to their learning. It can break down some of those barriers, which is always good. So Doreen is saying being able to have access to a material or resource and the means to use it for teaching and learning. Yes, that's true as well. So if, for example, if you're working in an environment maybe with without a particularly good internet connection, then that's an issue around accessibility as well, isn't it? Absolutely. Erica saying seamless virtual connection. Yes, so that's sort of similar to what I've just said. Diodon, ease to information without boundaries. Yes. Being able to connect to others. Yes. Okay, that's fantastic. That's lovely. So let's go on to the next question, which is, why is accessibility important in education, and how can it benefit students and teachers? So we're particularly talking about in the classroom or outside of the classroom. Why is it that we want to be using these accessibility features in order to make our classrooms more inclusive? What would your reasons be behind that, do you think? Please put it in the chat, your thoughts and reflections on this really important question, I think. While I'm waiting for the answers to come in, maybe if I give a few of my thoughts as well. So the way in which technology tools have developed in recent years, it means that a lot of these features, such as screen reading or speech selection, are built in now into the operating systems of lots of these tools, which is lovely to see. I can see now we've got some comments coming through, which is lovely. Thank you ever so much, everyone. So Arif is saying it can help students and teachers do learning activities out of the classroom. Yes, it can. It can give students access as an approach to help with the teaching and learning. It can make learning more interactive and interactive. Absolutely, that's from Diodon as well. Thank you so much. It can give people a way forward in order to help them with their learning. Absolutely. So it can really unlock the creativity of some students in the way that you can then open their eyes to the possibilities. For example, on another similar idea, I'm a big fan of Twitter Spaces. Twitter Spaces is an online platform for communicating with each other via voice on Twitter. And one of the features of that particular space is closed captioning. And I remember listening to a podcast called All Things Audio recently about the fact that one of the hosts was talking about the fact that someone who had taken part in the Twitter space had really enjoyed the fact that because she was hard of hearing, she wasn't able to hear the audio particularly well, but she was able to follow the closed captioning. And that's a really lovely story, I think, in relation to how we can allow and facilitate access to resources that maybe would be problematic if we didn't have these sorts of closed captioning. And I'm going to be talking about closed captioning. I'm going to be talking about closed captioning a bit later on. Another one from Doreen, it ensures that no learner is excluded. Absolutely. It allows the teacher to use a variety of activities. Perfect. So we'll just do one more question. What digital tools are you currently using to promote accessibility? So it may be that you're not aware of some of the features which I'm going to be showing you in this session, but if you could now put in the chat some of the tools you're already using, for example, if you're using a screen reader, or if you're using other ideas, maybe if you're using a microphone to talk into a Google Doc, so voice typing, for example, that's another nice feature that you could use. Any thoughts in the comments about some tools you're currently using to promote accessibility? That would be lovely to see if any comments come in, and we can then go from there. But I'll also be showing you 3 digital ways in which we can use accessibility if you're not exactly sure what to answer. Okay. So I'll just wait another second or two to see what comes in, and we'll see what we can do from there. Just on another point in relation to closed captioning, you'll notice that in Zoom right now, if you're on Zoom with us, then there is the option for you to enable closed captioning. So it has been enabled by one of the members who set up this session. So it means that if you wanted to enable closed captioning, you would be able to have that. So it would mean, in fact, some of you probably are using it right now. So you'll be able to see the text appearing at the bottom of the screen while I'm speaking. And that's another nice way in which we can use accessibility features in common tools, which we may not be aware are there. Okay, so let's carry on now and look at what ChatGPT thinks about accessibility. For those people that weren't in the previous session and you haven't seen ChatGPT before, ChatGPT is an AI tool. It's a bot which has been developed by OpenAI, a company from the States. One of the people involved in OpenAI is Elon Musk, who now owns Twitter. And what ChatGPT is, as opposed to other bots that have gone before, is it's been fed terabytes and terabytes of information, which has been scraped from the internet, looking at, for example, human conversations, as well as lots of factual information as well. Because it goes up until 2021, so it won't be able, for example, to tell you what the some current information. It won't be, if you ask it something which is very, very current, it won't be able to go on the internet and find that answer out yet, but I'm sure that'll be coming soon. But it will be able to give you, for example, the ability in an ELT context to write you lesson plans and to create texts and lots of different ideas that you can use straight in your classes. So this is what ChatGPT is saying about accessibility. I'll just excuse me. I'll just read that out to you. As an AI language model, accessibility to me means ensuring that everyone, regardless of their abilities or disabilities, can access and benefit from the same information and resources. This includes making sure that digital content is designed to be easy to read and navigate for people with visual or cognitive impairments, providing alternative formats for people who are unable to access information in its original format, and creating physical environments that are accessible to people with mobility or sensory impairments. In short, accessibility is about promoting inclusion and ensuring that everyone has equal access to opportunities and information. So that's a nice little definition there from ChatGPT. If we're looking at the difference between accessibility and inclusivity, this is what ChatGPT has said. Accessibility and inclusivity are an important concept in education. Accessibility is about removing physical barriers so everyone can access the same resources whereas inclusivity is about creating a welcoming and respectful environment that embraces diversity. Both aim to ensure that all students have equal opportunities to learn and succeed. So hopefully that makes the difference between when we talk about inclusivity and accessibility. Okay, let's carry on. Okay, now I would also recommend that you do check out this presentation from Anna that is giving a deeper dive into inclusive practices. And you can find that on the Facebook British Council Indonesia Facebook page, and also coming soon, it will be available on the British Council Indonesia YouTube channel as well, and also on a British Council website as well, which you can then check out. So I really would encourage everybody to check out the whole series. This is the 8th of 8 webinars. So the last one right now will be the end of the series, but you've got all that content which you can access for free, looking at lots of different ideas around 21st century English teaching, a whole range of different topic areas to do with that area. So I would really encourage everybody to look at the different video recordings which are available to you for free, and in particular this one from Anna around a deeper dive into inclusive practices. So do check those out moving forward. Okay, so now what we're going to do is we're going to have a look at 3 tools in particular that are good for promoting inclusivity through useful accessibility features. Just on a side note, the images which I've used in this presentation, or some of the images I've used in this presentation, I've taken from a website called photosforclass.com, which, if you haven't heard about before, is a really fantastic directory of images which are royalty free. In other words, legally you're allowed to use them in your classroom resources, in your multimedia projects, etc. They are covered by what's called a Creative Commons license, which each Creative Commons license is always slightly different. So do check that everything you want to do with the image is allowed. But you can see, for example, that in this example, I've got the attribution which has been added automatically on the bottom of the image, and it says, for example, that this image has been taken from a website called Pixabay. So Photos for Class draws images from other directories such as Pixabay, such as Unsplash, such as Flickr, and they only use images which are covered by different Creative Commons license images. So you can see here it says that I am allowed to use this for non-commercial use, and also it says free for most commercial use as well, no attribution required. So that's why I wanted to mention that. And you can see here we got this lovely image referring to everybody is different, everybody is included within the learning opportunities that we're talking about in this session. Okay, so we're going to start off looking at a particular tool which I'm a big fan of, called Immersive Reader. Now, you may not have heard of Immersive Reader, but it comes bundled with Microsoft tools. Officially, it's a Microsoft tool which comes with Microsoft Word, with Microsoft PowerPoint, with Class Notebook. It also appears in Wakelet, I talked about in the previous session, and also with Flip, which is a type of video communication tool which you can use for speaking practice asynchronously, which is very nice as well. So how does it work? What I'm going to do right now is I'm going to give you an idea on how it works. I'm going to click on this link here, which is going to take me to the British Council Learn English Teens page, and it's looking at skills for the 21st century workplace. I'm going to copy this text like this, right-click copy. Oh, let's do that again. Right-click copy. And I'm going to go to Word, which is here, and I'm going to right-click and paste in. It's going to ask me to install something, which I'm not going to do. I'm just going to do the keyboard shortcut and paste it in this way. Okay, so I've got my text in Word, and to launch Immersive Reader, you go to the View menu and Immersive Reader here. So let me show you how this works. If I select the text, click Immersive Reader, like that, and here it is, and I can now run it from here. Now, I appreciate that some people will not have Word installed for them. So instead of showing you, let me just get rid of these tips here. There we are. It's now working fine. Instead of showing you how it works in Word, I'm going to show you some other places that you can actually find this as well. For example, in Edge, if I click here, this is the browser, the Edge browser, like this. And here you'll notice that one of the options is Immersive Reader. So if I click on Immersive Reader, like this, it gives me similar preferences to the ones I'm about to show you, one of which is Read Aloud. Now, the thing with Read Aloud is it just starts from the beginning of the web page, which is nice, but it's not. It doesn't give you as much control compared to Immersive Reader. Let me just show you, if I click Read Aloud, what happens.
Skills for the 21st century workplace. Have you got the skills you need for the 20th?
Etc. Okay, and then you've got voice options here. For example, you can choose different voices. You've got a whole range of different voices here. You've also got different languages, etc., etc. And that's all baked into the Edge browser. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to show you a Chrome extension called Use Immersive Reader on Websites. And this is a really fantastic free Chrome extension which allows you to use Immersive Reader on any web page. So with that in mind, if I go to here, back to this document, because I have this this extension installed, I can now right-click the highlighted text. So I choose which text I highlight, and then I can run Immersive Reader from there. I then click on the option which says, help me read this, which is there because of the fact I have the extension installed. So I click help me read this, and it will now launch Immersive Reader so it looks exactly the same. So you do not need to have an Office 365 account to use Immersive Reader, which is something which is not free, obviously. Well, if you work in a school, it could be free. It depends on your context. But this is a way of using Immersive Reader within any web page. Okay, so with that in mind, I don't have to ask it what language I want it to read in. It will recognize the language automatically. So with that in mind, if I just press play in the way that I showed you in Edge, it will then read back the text with a good model of pronunciation to help with accessibility, like this.
Skills for the 21st century workplace. Have you got the skills you need for the 21st century workplace? We need to develop all kinds.
Okay, so that, as you can hear, is a good model of pronunciation. Some tools, which are also screen readers, such as Natural Reader. I also like Natural Reader a lot because it does work on all devices in the sense that it does work on web pages. It works, there's an iOS and Android app, and also there's a Chrome extension, but the voice sounds a little bit more robotic compared to Immersive Reader. So I think Immersive Reader is the best of this type of tool. Now, if you click on the voice settings option, you can change the speed. If I wanted to go slower, I can do that. And I can also change it from female to male like this.
Kinds of skills to survive in the 21st century.
Okay, or I can even make it go slower like this.
Century. Some, like ICT skills and knowledge of.
So it does sound a little bit garbled there, but you know, if you want it to have it at that speed, then you can do that. It will work. Let's go back to standard speed now. And now what I'm going to do is I'm going to show you these different options up here. So this is absolutely fantastic, I think, for ELT. So if I click on text preferences, for example, like this, I can change the text size. Can you see? Like that. So that's really nice in itself. I can also change the spacing like this. So it might be that, let's say for dyslexic learners, they may prefer to have more space between the lines. Likewise, you can change the font. So they may, dyslexic learners may prefer to have a different font like this, and they can choose this independently. So it's really promoting independence. They can all access this themselves and independently make these choices. You can also click on these different colors, or if you want to have more colors, you click on the more colors option. So for example, there's been research done to suggest that some dyslexic readers find it easier to read a text if it's got a colored background, such as yellow or blue or green, for example. So that's really nice as well. The next option is this one. This is the grammar options. So I click on that one, and I can do things like I can highlight the different parts of speech. You can see now that all the nouns, the verbs, the adjectives and adverbs are in different colors. The nouns are purple, the verbs are red, the adjectives are green, and the adverbs are sort of that browny gold color. I can also click on the show labels option as well, which is now showing that above certain words, it says N for noun or V for verb, or ADV for adverb, for example. And I can even enable syllables, which could help with pronunciation. So here, for example, digital, for example, we can see there are 3 syllables in that word. So that's also very useful from a parts of speech awareness option, and to help with pronunciation as well. Now, if I click on the third option, which is reading preferences, here you've got the line focus option. So I click on enabling line focus, then it will read the text line by line like this.
The digital world are taught explicitly in schools in the UK.
Which I think is very nice as well, because what's good about that is, again, for dyslexic readers, they might find if they see the whole text like this, it might seem as if it's swimming on the page. So if they have lots of lines all together, it might be difficult to access that content. Whereas if you focus it on just the one line like this, or maybe 3 lines, they may prefer that, then that will be a way of reducing that noise, if you like, and making it easier to read the context. In the olden days, I must say, we used to use a ruler. So you'd put a ruler on the piece of paper and move the ruler down line by line. And this is just a 21st century way of doing the same thing. The next thing I wanted to show was the fact that you do have a picture dictionary installed. So for example, if I click on the word world, then you can see that an image has come up. So there isn't an image for every single item, but there are for some. Let's click on the word idea. Yeah, so there's a picture there, but there won't be pictures for every single word. Like if I go to say the word in, yeah, so we just here we just got the pronunciation.
In.
Okay, or other words like all.
All.
But we don't have any pictures of that one. If we could click on skills, let's see if that, yeah, so there's a picture there, for example. So again, this is helping with accessibility. Now, if I were to click here, you can see that there's the option to translate as well. So I think this is useful. If I were to choose another language, such as, let's click on Indonesian, Bahasa Indonesian, okay? And I can now click on the by word option. And that means I could say, click here, and I've got a picture, and I've also got the English pronunciation.
Digital.
And then the Indonesian pronunciation.
Digital.
Okay. Or let's look at another word like this one.
Survive. Bertahan hidup.
Okay, hopefully the pronunciation is okay.
Employers. Oleh pemberi kerja.
Okay, do let me know in the chat if that's comprehensible for you. Okay, so that's wonderful, I think, from the point of view of giving students more independence and promoting their student agency. If you want to translate the whole document, you simply click here, and then you've got the whole document there. So that's wonderful as well. So if there are any questions, feel free to put them in the chat about Immersive Reader. I just wanted to show you as well, while we're here, if I copy this, you can actually do this in Google Docs as well, in the following way. If you go to Google Docs and you paste in the text like this, what you can do is click on extensions and go to add-ons and get add-ons like this. And then in the box that comes up in a moment, we can put in helper bird like this. Okay, helper bird. Now, if I click on helper bird, this will come up, and I just click on this and I install it. I've already installed it, so I'm not going to install it again, but you just install this. And once you've installed it, what you could then do is select the text as we did before, click on extensions, go down to where it says helper bird, and click open helper bird. And what that will do is it will create a pane on the right-hand side, which is now here. And what you want to then do is click on the green circle with the white book in it, which is called, as you can see, Immersive Reader. So we click on that. You need to make sure the text is selected. And then you click on the double-headed arrow. And now that's Immersive Reader. So that's how you can also put this straight into Immersive Reader from a Google Doc. So if I press play, now, interestingly, it's not actually working right now. When I've done this in the past, what I've done is I had to uninstall it and then reinstall it. which I'm not going to do right now because I don't have time. But that's the idea there. If it doesn't work straight away, just uninstall it and reinstall it, and you'll be absolutely fine. Okay, so that's how that one works. Okay, let's go back to here. And you've got the Chrome extension link there for Use Immersive Reader on websites for you. So do have a look at that. And that works on all web pages. Fantastic. So Immersive Reader, as you can see, is a digital tool that promotes autonomy, inclusion, and accessibility in ELT by supporting diverse needs, providing language learning tools, and enabling learners to work independently. Okay, the next thing I'm going to talk about is closed captioning, which we've sort of touched upon a little bit already. Closed captioning in Google Slides and PowerPoint enhances the ELT learning experience by providing a text version of the audio content, supporting language learning and promoting inclusion and accessibility. So again, I'm going to show you live how this works. Now, in Google Slides, you may have not known that it is possible to enable closed captioning. What you do is at the bottom left of the screen, you put the cursor, which gives you this sort of navigation bar. And here you have the 3 dots. So you click on the 3 dots and you'll see it says caption preferences. So having done that, you can then see that what you have is the option to toggle the captions on and off. And you also have the option to click on text position, and you can choose the captions to appear at the bottom of the screen underneath the presentation or at the top. I normally have it going at the bottom. And then here it says text size. And again, you can choose to have a different size of text. I normally go for extra large because it makes it very, very clear and easy. So now what you do is you click on toggle captions here. Okay. And now what will happen is I am speaking, and as you can see at the bottom of the screen, my closed captions are appearing. Now, with Google Slides, you can see that closed captions are available, but they're only available in English. I'm hoping that will change in the future. As with lots of Google tools, they do add lots of languages, but at the moment, it's just appearing in English. You can't have this appearing in, for example, Bahasa Indonesian. Okay, so just to let you know about that, that's really important that you realize that that is one of the issues around closed captioning Google Slides, but it does work. So hopefully everybody that wasn't aware of this feature will now try this out in their classes in order to help students make those sound spelling links by seeing the text in addition to hearing the teacher's voice. Saying the content out loud, they can follow along with the written content as well. Now, this is not being recorded. I mean, this is being recorded in a Zoom session right now, but it's not being recorded within Google Slides live. So what you'd have to do, you'd have to use a third-party tool like Zoom, like a tool like Loom or Screencastify or Screencast-O-Matic or those sorts of tools, or even in Flip, actually, you could record the screen in Flip. Formerly known as Flipgrid, which would also allow you to save your recordings. And each of those tools has different limits. So, for example, Flip, you can record for up to 10 minutes. With Screencastify, you can record for up to 30 minutes, etc., etc. But that's how you enable closed captioning in Google Slides. So if I now click on the 3 dots here, and I go to caption preferences again, I simply click this again, or I can use the keyboard shortcut Control, Shift, and C to turn off the captioning like this. Okay, so I've now turned that off, and I'm going to now go to the next slide. Now, oh, no, I'm not going to go to the next slide. On this slide now, I'm also going to go here, which is my Microsoft link to my PowerPoint. And as you can see, it's now come up here. And this is the way in which you can add closed captioning in PowerPoint, which is also fantastic. So to do this, what you do is you click on slideshow, and here it says always use subtitles. Now, if I click on the drop-down menu here, you can see it says spoken language, and I've chosen, I'm going to choose English UK, and then I'm going to click here again. It says subtitle language, and again, I'm going to choose English. Here, I can choose for the closed captioning, as with Google Slides, to appear below the slide. And also under audio settings, I can click on this and I can make sure that I'm using the microphone that I should be using, which I am. So it should be absolutely fine. From there, what I do is I click from beginning. So that now runs, and then bottom left of the screen, I have this floating toolbar similar to Google Slides. And the option that you want is this one in the middle, which looks like a rectangle with a diagonal line going through it. And once I click on that, what will happen now is PowerPoint will be listening to my voice, and it will be creating closed captioning live as we listen to this while I'm speaking. So again, this is not being recorded. I'd have to use a third-party tool to record the screen. But again, I think this is fantastic. But this is much, much more complex compared to Google Slides because you can choose different languages. So for example, if I were to click on that rectangle again without the line through it, because closed captioning is now enabled like this, I could now come out of the presentation and I could go to here, for example, and instead of English as a subtitle language, I could choose Bahasa Indonesian instead. And now when I present and click here, I can now speak in English, but what can be happening is my voice is being turned into Indonesian closed captioning. Again, I would love to know in the chat how accurate the closed captioning is from a translation point of view. When I've shown this to people from around the world, they've always said that the closed captioning is very accurate, apart from perhaps proper nouns, which has been interesting. So it'd be nice to know in the chat whether the translation is of a good quality. I can see that Brian is saying very formal, but it works really well. Perfect, Brian. That's great. Lovely to hear. Great. Okay. So let's stop this. There we are. And I'm going to come out of the PowerPoint. So hopefully that's clear on how this works in relation to enabling closed captioning in Google Slides and in PowerPoint. There's also the present live option, which I'm not going to show you right now because of the nature of the account that I have a business account. I'd have to add everybody to that account for it to work. But if I just explain what could be used for this, if you click on the present live option, in fact, if I just demonstrate, we're not actually going to do it live, but if I click present live, what will happen is it will generate a URL in a moment, and you can give that URL to the students, and then they can then choose. If it's going to work. They can then choose to access their own closed captions with the presentation. For some reason, it's not working right now. I don't know why that is, but you could. It would generate the URL. Each student puts that URL. There we are. It doesn't want to work. Each person would put that URL into their device, and then they could then choose which language the closed captions are in. But because of my account, even though it's not working right now anyway, because of my account, that wouldn't actually work. But do test that out in your own context if you're using Microsoft tools. Okay, let's go back to my presentation and carry on. And the next thing we're going to have a look at is called Peartree. Okay, so in Peartree is a customizable digital tool that enhances the ELT learning experience with accessibility features. It offers engaging game-based activities for vocabulary acquisition, customizable font sizes, and text-to-speech functionality to support learners with diverse needs. Now, what I thought I would show you to start off with is if we go to the Peartree website, but let me click here to show you that. So this is the Peartree website. I'm sure some of you are familiar with this already. So you get, I think it's 27 different activities you can access, things like Peartree Randomizer, Name Picker, Quiz Show, flashcards, etc. So lots of different activities you can use in ELT. If you click on instructions here, you'll notice that there is a set of instructions that you can use, and it gives you precise directions on what it is that you can do with this particular activity to create it. If I click on this, make a copy of this template option like this, and I click make a copy, what will happen is there we are, it's made a copy, and you can see here that I've got all this text in here, and you can even choose things like the color of the card and the text color. And you'll see here as well that it's got audio English US and audio English US. So that's why I want to particularly highlight this feature, because of the fact that it does have text to speech, and you can choose from all these different languages. So for example, if I choose English UK, and I can choose here Bahasa Indonesian, like that, and then I can then click here, for example, and I can go to the bottom here and click here and hold down Shift. That will then allow me to delete all the content which is here. Now, I did this earlier. If you look here, this is an example. If I click on the flashcards option, this is exactly what I've done. But let's see if I can do this live now using ChatGPT. So let me go to here and click on New Chat. Okay. And I want to say the following: create a table with 2 columns. In the first column, list 10 words in English about accessibility. Let me put accessibility in education. In education. In the second column, put the translation of each term. Right, let me just copy that just to make sure. If it doesn't work, I can try again. Can you see exactly what I've just suggested? Let me just refresh the page. Sometimes this happens with ChatGPT because it's over capacity. It's still working, that's good. So let me try again and hit enter. There we are, it's going to work now. So what it's going to do, hopefully, there we are, it's going to create a table like this. And now I've forgotten to say the language, so I'm going to stop that. And I'm going to start a new chat. I forgot to say Indonesian. Sorry about that. Put the translation in Indonesian of each term. There we are. So yes, Doreen, ChatGPT works in the browser. That's right. Okay, there we are. That's what we wanted. Okay, so that's now generating this table. And then from there, I can just literally copy this like that, copy it, and I can go back to my document here, and I can paste in text like that. Can you see? And it's all now done it. Then from there, I click File, Share, Publish to Web. File, Share, Publish to Web. So I click Publish to Web and Publish, and click OK. And then from there, I can now close this little window, and I can click where it says Get the link here. Okay, and I click on that, click the link, and here's the activity. Now, the reason this is good for accessibility is because of the fact that this is obviously a flashcard activity, but I can enable the text-to-speech like this.
Accessibility.
And hopefully you can hear that. So that's now said accessibility with an English accent. I now click on it, and it should give me the Indonesian pronunciation.
Aksesibilitas.
Yeah, with the word, and then I click again.
Inclusive education.
And
Pendidikan inklusif.
okay, etc.
Equal opportunity. Kesempatan yang sama.
So you get the idea. So I'm working through the different terms. I can also click on the list option here, and I've got all the terms here. So I could click here, for example.
Braille.
And
Braille.
And
accessibility audit.
And
audit aksesibilitas.
Okay, etc. I can click on matching here if I wanted to. So for example, I could let's see if I can get this right. So we've got the word accessibility, and then to find the Indonesian equivalent, that will be where is it now? It's going to this one. There we are, and it's gone green, and that's why it's disappeared. And then I would then carry on until I've done all the matching. So again, this is really useful, I think, from the point of view of being able to generate a number of different activities from the same set of inputs. And then if you click on practice, you can also then write in the content. I think this is pushing my Indonesian a bit too far, but if I was learning the language and I knew how to write that, I could then obviously write the answer in there, which is just great. Here I can click on the more option, and this is fantastic because you get even more activities that you can do. For example, the quiz show one might be quite fun. So I click here on quiz show. Then I can, for example, click here. I can then ask the class as the teacher, what is the Bahasa Indonesian for assistive technology? Hopefully someone will put their hand up. I would then, if I thought the answer was correct, I would then show them the answer. And let's say they were in team 1, I could then click here and they get a lovely little sound there. And then I could then click here, and then we would then carry on with other questions around translation in this particular quiz show. Now, if you wanted to have more or less or fewer teams, you would click here to remove a team. So you could have, say, 2 teams, or if you want to have more teams, you could have as many as 8 teams for your quiz show. So that's how that one works. And then there's other activities such as the snowman. Here, for example, you could click here and you get all the items in Indonesian, and then you'd have to use the snowman, which is a hangman sort of activity. Let me just show you how it works. So if I were to enter the different letters, I'm not getting any of these right at the moment, but I've got some of them right. Okay, that's a relief. But each time you get one wrong, then the snowman starts to melt, which is very sad. I'm quite close now, actually. That's not bad for someone that doesn't know it. There we are. So it's now melted. Let me just try one more. There we are. I think it's completely melted now. Oh, there we are. Unfortunately, I need to improve on my Indonesian, but you get the idea. And if you do get it right, then the character puts its arms in the air, which is quite funny. Let me just show you. Let's see if I can do one in English. So this time, let's put in E and then A and then okay. No pressure at all. Not doing very, very well at this. Any help in the chat would be much appreciated. No. So let's just try. Oh, there's a V. Okay. There we are. Oh. So, perfect. There I just needed a couple of letters. Now, there we go. There you go. And then he puts his arms in the air. Perfect. Okay. So that's Flippity and how you can enable text-to-speech, which is a really nice accessibility feature. There we are. Okay. In relation to the CPD framework for teachers that I referred to earlier, I've highlighted the fact that using pedagogical strategies that encourage inclusive education within a supported learning environment is one of the key features of the using inclusive practices in the framework. So do have a look at that in more detail later. This is the Wakelet bibliography. For those people that weren't in the first session, I was showing how you can use Wakelet as a way of collecting links and resources and PDFs and images, what have you, all in the same space. So what I've done here is I've created a bibliography for you, a bit of extra reading with some YouTube clips, etc., for you to have a look at to learn more about how you can use Flippity in ELT for promoting accessibility. So you can have that as a takeaway. And just to finish off with, my post-webinar task for you is to try out using Immersive Reader on a reading text, either in Microsoft Edge or Word or Google Docs or on the web using Use Immersive Reader on websites, the way that I've shown you. And I would absolutely love it if you could use the course Padlet for adding your reflections on how you felt that it helped with accessing the text in all the ways that I've shown you, using the image option, using the colored background, using the model of pronunciation, etc., etc. That would be very, very useful to have your thoughts and reflections on the power of doing that. And just to finish off with, I wanted to mention this is the link to the community practice. So feel free to scan the QR code. I've also put the link at the bottom here as well for you to access it. We would absolutely love you to collaborate on the Padlet for us to get an idea of what you found particularly useful in the 8 sessions, including the 2 that I've just delivered this morning or this afternoon for you. And do have a go at creating some different activities using the tools I've talked about. For Flippity, it's just flippity.net, so it's really easy to access. And I think that's just on time. So we now have 10 minutes or so for Q&A, and I'm going to hand over to John. Over to you, John.
Thanks a lot, Joe. Fascinating again, loads of amazing content. A lot to try and use, I think, and there was lots of messages in the chat from people saying, "Wow, this is great! I'm going to be using this today or tomorrow." So yeah, amazing response there. In terms of questions, then some quite kind of big picture questions, really. So the first one came from Aung Kiao. I hope I'm pronouncing that okay, via Facebook. What are some of the challenges that organizations can face when implementing effective digital collaboration or accessibility and inclusion strategies?
Wow. Okay. So that's quite a general question. I would say it's all about creating the right type of culture within the environment, within the institution. That's important, but also having access to the hardware, making sure that it's as up to date as needs to be, and investing in the infrastructure to make sure that the internet is fast enough for you to be able to do what you need to do. And I appreciate that there are issues in certain contexts when maybe it's just not possible to have a particularly fast internet connection, but so as the managers of the situation in let's say it's a school or in an institution, to putting the funding in order to make it possible to have hardware which is up to date enough, and putting the infrastructure in to make the internet quick enough for it to be suitable. But also, as I said earlier, the first thing I said is about culture, and I think that's incredibly important to develop this sort of growth mindset, this sort of give it a go culture. Positivity will then breed more positivity, and that's the way in which you can make everybody feel included within the lesson, which I think is sort of on page 1 of teaching and learning, isn't it? If you make everyone feel comfortable and loved, if you like, in the classroom, then you're going to get great things happening from the students. Whereas if they feel worried or not included, then that they will kick against that, and then you can easily have a sort of a different scenario on your hands. But if you start off on the front foot and be positive, that will all help with making some of these strategies work. But I also think that in relation to, say, immersive reader, it's just brilliant for encouraging independence. And if we can make our learners more independent, then that's also a fantastic way of improving their motivation and giving them more agency, as one says. So I think that it's a mixture of promoting a sort of a collaborative atmosphere, as well as encouraging independence as well. It's a mixture of everything, I think.
Definitely. I think that's a really important point about how creating a kind of positive, comfortable, safe space is as important, if not more important, in the online world as it is in the physical classroom.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I think that's a really important point. So another kind of bigger picture question then. I think that it's from Aung Kiao again. Again, apologies if my pronunciation isn't accurate. What are some ways you could suggest to ensure that individuals with disabilities have equal access to information and technology, perhaps via some tools that you've mentioned or some other tools that you haven't had time to?
Yeah. So again, great question. It would obviously depend on the particular, let's say, disabilities that those students have. Some of the tools which I've talked about already cater to those students who maybe are hard of hearing, for example, or maybe have visual issues, or maybe are dyslexic and those sorts of things. What I would suggest is that once you have highlighted what the issues are, is that you look on say places like Facebook or Twitter. You connect with like-minded people, you join online communities in those places to ask about what are effective tools which maybe come bundled with the sorts of tools that you regularly use, which you don't realize that are there, which will help with that. Also, I found personally Pinterest is a really good website for finding out good information quickly and easily. For those people that don't know Pinterest, it's essentially a website which is a type of social bookmarking website, but it's a very visual version of that. So you have different pin boards, and people then pin different ideas on that related to different themes. If you were, for example, to put in the particular disability or issue that an individual has into Pinterest with, let's say, the word tech tool or the words tech tools afterwards, then probably you would get a pretty good overview pretty quickly of what is out there. But I'd also really highly recommend to connect with like-minded people on Facebook or on Twitter and other places, of course, to connect with those people who can then create a huge shortcut for you to get into the information that you need. That's what I have been saying for years and years and years. I've been on Twitter for 15, 16 years now, and it's absolutely changed my life. I've been able to connect with like-minded people from all over the world. And whenever I have a question, I can either find it out myself by searching on places like Twitter or Facebook, or just asking people who I know more than I do about this. A bit like this idea of Vygotsky's another, the next level up, the person that knows a little bit more than you do, the zone of proximal development, that's it, who knows a little bit more than you do. And in a way, Twitter and Facebook and social media in general can be that other person that knows more than you do. So the more knowledgeable other, that's the MKO, the more knowledgeable other. So I think that if you reach out to the more knowledgeable other, whoever that may be, that's a great way of finding out the best solution in your context.
Thanks a lot, Joe. That's great. I think that's all we've got time for. It's a really useful, practical kind of points and insights there. Thank you once again. I think we're moving now to the closing remarks. Thank you very much, everybody.
Thanks, everyone.
Thank you, Joe and John. What a comprehensive Q&A session, yeah? And thank you for delivering such a great presentation, Joe. So now, ladies and gentlemen, I would like to invite Nikki from the British Council to deliver the closing remarks. Hi, Nikki.
Hello, everybody. Can you see me? Yeah. Maybe, Joe, if you wouldn't mind just to stop sharing for a second, that would be great. Brilliant. Okay, thank you very much. All right, so that brings us to the end of the 21st Century English Teacher Express, our whistle-stop tour of 21st century skills-based lessons mapped to the British Council CPD framework for teachers. So as I mentioned, we've had wonderful 8 sessions on a range of topics from basic course and classroom management all the way through to reflection, critical thinking, and today with Joe, the 21st century skills. So if you have never seen me before, my name is Nikki and I am the owner of Peartree Languages. We are an English language courses and services provider based in Cardiff in the United Kingdom. We are working very closely with the ASEAN region at the moment. We are involved in the Nusantara Go project. Also, we are working with Teflin as part of Prelim 3 and in Northern Vietnam on the 7 Seas Teacher Development Project. It was an absolute pleasure to be asked to coordinate and to deliver this series on behalf of British Council Indonesia. So I would like to say some thank yous. First of all, a very big thank you to Mr. Adi and Mrs. Maria of British Council Indonesia, who have supported us all the way through. And also thank you to them for the trust they placed in us. We really appreciate this opportunity to have been able to coordinate these sessions. I'd also like to thank the English Academy for moderating the sessions, for the promotion and their really smiley faces while we've been delivering our sessions. It's been really encouraging to see them there underpinning the webinars. And of course, from my side as the owner of Peartree Languages, I would like to say a very big thank you to our expert trainers, our team. So of course, we finished on a high here today with Mr. Joe Dale. Also the sessions with Mrs. Anna Kutcher and Miss Susie Bridges, and of course our very own academic manager John Letson that you can see here with you today. So thank you very much to all of my team. And last but certainly not least, a huge thank you to all of the participants who have joined us live, whether it was live here in Zoom, live on Facebook, and also a very warm welcome to the many, many more who we hope will watch these sessions and gain all of the knowledge that we have been sharing at a later date on the YouTube channel or on the website. You are very, very welcome. Do please check out our Padlet. that will stay online for a long time to come. Try our takeaway tasks. Have a look at the slides. All the slides are there now as well, and use it as a community of practice. As Joe has just mentioned, find a knowledgeable other and reach out and develop your 21st century skills. So many thanks. And I believe I will hand over now to one of my colleagues. Keep in touch. Keep in touch. Thank you. Bye-bye.
Wonderful. Thank you, Nikki. See, let's keep in touch, everyone. So next, we have Buyung Sudraja. That's our Senior Program Manager, English Program. Kak Buyung.
Thank you, Kak Tiara. Good afternoon, teachers, Bapak Ibu. Selamat sore. Good morning to colleagues who are based in the UK. I'm here representing British Council English Programs teams. First of all, would like to thank all of you who have participated in the 21st Century Skill 21st Century English Teacher Express webinar series, which we co-delivered with Peartree Languages and also English Academy. This series is part of our English Connects Global program, where we aim to share the UK's expertise to teachers across the world. British Council English Programs in East Asia have been conducting a research. So the background is based on our research called ELT Transform, where we aim to identify teachers' needs on around continuous professional development. And then from that research, 21st century skills is identified as one of the most requested or needed by teachers. Therefore, the materials that have been greatly curated and developed by our UK partner, Peartree Languages, with their remarkable trainers and also esteemed speakers, are based on the themes and topics which the survey shows teachers are needed the most. Therefore, we hope that this series has been useful for you and bring positive yet fun changes to your classroom in integrating 21st century skills. The recording of this series will be available on British Council Indonesia's YouTube channel, so please revisit anytime and share it with your fellow teachers so that this can benefit more teachers. Last but not least, I would like to express my greatest gratitude to our partners, Peartree Languages, Nikki, and the team from Peartree. Thank you so much for your continued support for our activities supporting teachers in Indonesia. I hope we can collaborate in the next opportunity, and also our Indonesian partner, English Academy, which we share the same aspiration in supporting English teachers in Indonesia. We are proud to partner with English Academy, and hopefully this is the start of fruitful collaborations in the future. Congratulations for completing the webinar series, and hopefully we can provide you with more CPD opportunities like this with different focus. So thank you, and see you in the next series.
Thank you, Kak Buyung. Yes, we look forward to more collaborations, of course, with the English Academy and Peartree. Last but certainly not least, please welcome Kak Ubay as the BizOps manager from English Academy. Hi, Kak Ubay.
Everyone can hear me.
Yes, Kak Ubay.
All right. Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Ubaidillah Akbar. On behalf of English Academy, I would like to compliment the British Council for this wonderful training, wherein everyone had been given the opportunity to participate and to convey their experiences and viewpoints. Indeed, this has been a great learning and sharing experience that has enhanced everyone's knowledge. I also would like to thank the distinguished keynote speaker who shared their valuable experience at the plenary session. I'm happy for each and every one of you and for the way you have participated in this webinar training. May this event be useful in your daily work, and the knowledge which gather also able to impact all of us and can be implemented for our professional experience. Once more, thank you for everyone. Thank you to British Council as well. I wish you all have a good day. Thank you.
Thank you, Kak Ubay. So, ladies and gentlemen, that concludes our session today. Kindly complete the post-event survey to get your e-certificate. So you can just, scan the barcode there, or you can click on the link. And thank you so much for your contributions. And we hope that you have learned and enjoyed the presentation, and see you in the next webinar. Thank you, everyone. Have a great day.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.